Hello everyone, welcome back to Affinity for Commander. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of the new alternative commanders from the 40k decks, Marneus Calgar. Just before that, as always, if you'd like to purchase any of the cards I'm going to be talking about, or even the full deck list, then be sure to do so through our affiliate links in the description box below. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it really helps the channel out a lot. Now let's get into taking a look at our big Astratus legend. Marneus Calgar is a 3/5 legendary creature, Astratus warrior with double strike for 2 generic, 1 white, 1 blue and 1 black mana. He reads, whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. And for 6 generic mana, create 2 2/2 white Astratus warrior creature tokens with vigilance. So, on the surface, Calgar appears to be just a really good Esper token commander, drawing cards when token enters the battlefield. That's pretty damn good. Now, obviously, no, it's not going to be whenever they enter, because that would be insane. In your end step, secure the waste for 7 and draw 7 cards? Yeah, no, that's too good. That's not okay. And his second ability allows us to generate some tokens ourselves in the late game when we've got mana kicking around. And we'll also draw a card from the tokens entering. Really good card design. Now, let's take a look at how we can support our Chapter Master. At the low end, we've got a few things to help our commander's ability out, like Training Grounds, to reduce his ability to a more reasonable 4 mana, and for Saracea to be able to sack all the tokens we've made to shore up some of those draws off of Calgar's ability. Secure the Waste is also technically comes in here, but should be cast for as much mana as humanly possible for the greatest value. Now, up at our 2-drop slot, we need ramp. Like, all of it. Because, oh boy, do we have a high leaning curve. It's more of a wave than a curve, really. So we need all the signets: Azorius, Dimir, Orzhov, and Arcane. Our commander isn't cheap, and neither are his buddies. Plus Mind Stone and Felwar Stone to boot. We need the mana. Now, because we're wanting loads of creatures entering and leaving the battlefield, as that's kind of what tokens do, we've got Zulaport Cutthroat and Blood Artist making their regularly scheduled appearances. Plus newcomer Elas Il-Kor, perhaps even more welcome as we are a token deck, and producing a lot of dudes means gaining a lot of life. Speaking of producing dudes, Hidden Stockpile gives us a sack outlet plus a 1/1 in our end step after something of ours has died. And Denek Pious Apprentice is a great Merrin hater, but it's his other side, the Pious Apparition, that's great for us. As he now investigates when a creature dies, and Calgar's ability doesn't ask it be a creature token, no. Clues, food, and treasure all will do, and all will draw us a card. Speaking of treasures, Deadly Dispute is still an insane card, as we can sacrifice a token to draw cards and get a treasure, which will trigger Calgar, netting us yet another card. And much like Secure the Waste, Grand Crescendo is another instant speed dude maker that has the added bonus of making our entire board indestructible to avoid any board wipes or even targeted removal. We've also got our first new card from the 40k decks in And They Shall Know No Fear, which is a lofty title for an instant speed half anthem plus indestructible, but it is the indestructible that makes this card so great. Not every colour can have heroic intervention. At 3 mana, we've got a little bit more ramp and a load of support cards. Chromatic Lantern and Commander Sphere are here to round off our ramp and colour fixing, and Archaeomancer's Map keeps us up with everyone else who'll be doing some of that more broken green style ramping. Meanwhile, cards like Black Market Connections, Monologue Tax, and Call the Coppercoats all make us tokens, with our enchantments doing so in different instances to trigger Calgar multiple times, and the instant being one of my favourite means of generating tokens. Secure the Waste and Grand Crescendo scale with the mana we put into them, but the call works from our opponents who have created their own board states, and can generate way more creatures per the mana we've put into it. And two cards that definitely to stay in from the precon are Commissar Severina Rain and Space Marine Scout. The Commissar has a great life loss effect on attack, so as long as he's attacking with our army of tokens, and his second ability serves as an adequate sack outlet, but does generate us cards in hand, plus some life. Meanwhile, the Space Marine Scout does a bad impression of Knight of the White Orchid, but has a good amount of flavour, plus vigilance. And now we move on to the bulk of the deck, what all that ramp was for, the ability to play multiple 4-drops in a turn, as we've got quite a few. To help support our token theme, we've got Avon Wind Guard to give all our tokens some extra vigilance and, more importantly, flying. Benny Brock's Zoologist gives us some much needed token card draw, plus can be convoked out for no mana. Curiosity Crafter also adds some great card draw when our tokens connect, and Tasha Karlov, in addition to giving us great benefit to our Skull Clamp and Zulaport Cutthroat interactions, also gives our tokens more vigilance and, importantly, lifelink. And of course, Anointed Procession making its contractual appearance to double the number of tokens we'll be producing. But this is all meaningless without more tokens. Battle Angels of Tyr create their tokens in combat, so trigger Calgar then to draw us a card. Plus they have great evening out effects for lands and life. Company Commander creates us 3 1/1s on entry and grants our attackers Death Touch as well. And this Death Touch should help us get in some damage to trigger Grim Hireling's ability. Because remember, Calgar doesn't say creature token. More treasures means more 4-drops and a potential kill spell with the Hireling. Speaking of non-creature tokens, Inquisitor Greyfax, despite not being the face commander anymore, still has value with his Hearth Anthem ability and means of generating a clue to trigger our commander's draw ability. And lastly, on the non-token creature front, Pitiless Plunderer grants a token every time a creature of ours dies, and Smothering Tithe is, whilst a completely degenerate card that should be cast into Eternal Damnation, also has the added advantage of drawing us a card every time it triggers with Calgar out. Now at this point I need to explain one of the new mechanics, Squad, which is essentially multi-kicker. You may pay the squad cost as many times as you want, and per each time you've paid it, you generate 1 token copy of the creature that has the squad ability. We all clear? Good. Because the cards Space Marine Devastator and Ultramarines Honor Guard are insane with the squad ability. The Devastator means you get to destroy an additional artifact or enchantment for 2 generic mana more, and the Honor Guard just keeps adding Anthem effects for 2 more generic mana. To show how good this is, look at the Honor Guard. For, let's say, 8 mana, that's going to be 3 bodies. There'll be 4 4s due to each guard's Anthem effect, plus a continual 3/3 buff for your entire board. That's 8 mana getting you 12 power and a +3/+3 Anthem effect continuously. That seems very good. And it's at this point that we kind of need to talk about one of our primary win conditions of the deck. No, I don't mean playing a Chrome as well, which is also in the deck because it's a great card and hitting people in the face with flying tokens is just fantastic. No, I mean because we're running Zur the Enchanter as well, for the pretty simple standard reason of being able to grab Training Grounds with their attack trigger. And Training Grounds is a good card, but it's not massively important. Unless it is going to win us the game, that is. You see, Calgar's ability to create 2 2/2s is a bit expensive at 6 mana, so Training Grounds reduce it down to a nice 4 generic mana. Nice and easy. Now we simply need to add everyone's favourite sack outlet in Ashnod's Altar to make this infinitely repeatable. The way it works is that you now pay the 4 generic mana to Calgar thanks to Training Grounds to generate 2 dudes. These dudes are then sacrificed to the altar, thus generating 4 colorless mana. We can then use this mana to repeat the process, generating 2 more tokens to be sacrificed again. This may seem completely pointless if it wasn't for Calgar's first ability. As each time a token enters the battlefield, we draw, and thus we can now draw our entire library with just Training Grounds and Calgar out, and the altar of course. From this you can then win however you like. You've got your library in your hand after all, but the obvious and most contentious way is just to use Thassa's Oracle, due thanks to their ETB winning effect. Or, hell, be spicy about it. Mill everyone with Psychic Corrosion, the multiverse is your oyster after all. Now, moving up to the high end of our curve, or wave, we've got more tokens and just some super funny cards. Birth of the Imperium is a generation of 6 power and 3 bodies for 5 mana, that then gets rid of 3 creatures and then draws us potentially 6 cards, which is a lot of work put in by one enchantment. Divine Visitation is a knockout card, turning all of our 1/1s and 2/2s into beefy 4/4 flyers. Perplexing Test ensures these tokens are definitely going to be hitting by potentially being a one-sided board bounce for 5 mana at instant speed. And Spell Swindle is the budget player's answer to Mana Drain, but considering the token generation theme we've got going, it actually works out very well for us. And the last 2 cards I want to talk about are Ink Shield, an amazing fog that generates us usually a ton of power to hit back with, and Elspeth, Sun's Champion, a 3-body token producer that also has board wipe potential in her -3 ability, which is fine for us considering most of our tokens are 3 power or less. Now moving on to the lands, there's only a few that I really want to be talking about, but the ones worth mentioning definitely pull their weight. Vault of the Archangel grants both Death Touch and Lifelink to all of our creatures, and since we're playing a huge amount of tokens, that makes blocking a pain for our opponents and generates us a huge amount of life when they connect. Phyrexian Tower is also a small means of ramp by adding an additional black mana whenever we sacrifice a token that we maybe just don't need anymore. And finally, everyone say it together, we're playing black, so Urborg and Cabal Coffers. Which, no, we're not actually running it to play Torment for 1,000,000. No, this is literally just so we can have bigger crescendos and more activations of our commander's ability. Again, this deck is mainly 4 mana cards. Now, if I'm being totally honest, on first sight, I dismissed Calgar as just another boring Esper-style token strategy. But when actually looking into it and seeing the fact that it draws on each instance of any token, not just creature token entering, I started to fall a little bit in love with it. I mean, come on, it makes Smothering Tithe now draw you cards. Any commander that makes Smothering Tithe more obnoxious, I need to be playing a week ago. Calgar himself is a well-designed, I would say fair-costed commander. Yes, his token generation ability is very steep at 6 mana, but when it's repeatable, it's kind of understandable that it's 6 mana to make 2 2/2s with Vigilance. Equally, with the small amount of 40k lore that I've had drilled into my head over the past 2 weeks, apparently he's very flavourful as well, which is always nice for 40k fans coming in, getting to see one of their characters actually well represented on a Magic card. But overall, he's Esper tokens with card draw on him, infinite combo potential, and already has the basis for an incredibly thematic deck, and I cannot wait to play him. And that'll be it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. What cards are you excited about in the new 40k Commander decks? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one of them. As always, this content and all Affinity for Commander content is brought to you by our amazing patrons. Thank you guys so much. We literally could not continue making videos without your continued support, so thank you. If you too would like to support Affinity for Commander, then be sure to head over to our Patreon page for access to exclusive EDH related rewards. You can also support the channel in other ways by liking this video, commenting and subscribing for more just like it. As always though guys, I've been Alex, and I will see you next time.